The chandeliers sparkled inside the grand hall of Kensington Palace. Music played softly, and the sound of voices and laughter filled the room. Guests in beautiful gowns and sharp suits moved about, sipping drinks and chatting. It was a charity gala hosted by Prince William and Princess Kate. They had planned this event for months to raise money for children who had lost their parents in war zones. Everything seemed perfect. But something was not right. William stood near the entrance, a polite smile on his face, but his eyes kept moving across the room. He was searching for Kate. She had quietly stepped out nearly 20 minutes ago after taking a phone call. That alone was unusual. In all their years together, William had seen Kate stay calm in even the hardest moments. She always carried herself with grace, always thinking carefully before speaking. But tonight, William felt a strange worry in his heart. Why hadn't she returned yet? Kate had poured her heart into this charity work. She had personally met many of the children they were helping. She had listened to their stories, hugged them, and written letters to their families. This wasn't just a royal duty to her, it mattered deeply. William's worry grew. He moved through the crowd of guests, nodding politely as people greeted him. Many praised the success of the evening. They had already raised far more money than expected, but William barely heard them. He needed to find Kate. At last he spotted her. She was standing alone near a side doorway, her back to the room, speaking quietly into her phone. Even from a distance, William noticed something that shook him. Kate's shoulders were trembling. That was not like her. Without delay, he walked toward her, pushing through the crowd. When he reached her, she had just ended the call. She turned to him, and in that moment, William's heart broke. Kate's eyes were full of tears. Her face was pale. She tried to stay composed, but her lips trembled. William gently took her hand and led her away from the curious eyes of the guests, into a quiet corner. "Kate, what's happened?" he asked softly. It took her a moment to find her voice. Then she whispered the terrible news. The phone call had been from their contact at the International Aid Group. There had been a bombing. A deadly attack on one of the refugee camps where many of the children they were helping had been moved. Some shelters were destroyed. Many children were injured. Some were missing. The situation was desperate. The aid workers were doing all they could, but more help was urgently needed. As Kate spoke, tears rolled down her cheeks. William listened, feeling the weight of the news. They both knew these children had met them, played with them. Now they were in danger again. In the ballroom, the music still played. The crowd still laughed. The gala was continuing as if nothing had happened. But for William and Kate, the night had changed completely. Kate wiped her tears and looked into William's eyes. "We can't just stand here," she said. "They need help now." William nodded. "What do you want to do?" Kate's answer was simple. "Tell them. Everyone." For a moment, William wondered if it was wise. This was a royal event. Showing raw emotion in front of hundreds of people was unheard of. But one look at Kate's face, full of determination, and he knew he would stand by her. Kate took a deep breath and walked to the center of the ballroom. She asked the band to stop. The music ended mid-song. Voices quieted. Glasses were lowered. All eyes turned to her. Standing beneath the great chandelier, Kate began to speak. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. "Thank you all for being here," she said. "Your kindness and your generosity tonight mean more than words can say." She paused, swallowing back emotion. Then she continued, "But I must tell you something." Her voice grew quieter, but every person strained to hear. "I have just received terrible news. The children we are trying to help, many of them have just suffered a new tragedy. The camp where they were staying has been attacked. Many are hurt. Some are missing." A gasp moved through the crowd. Tears now flowed down Kate's face, but she stood tall. "The funds we've raised tonight will no longer be enough. They need more, much more." Then she said the words that shocked the entire room. "My husband and I are pledging our own personal savings to help these children. We will give whatever we can. We will cancel our family holiday. We will do whatever it takes." For a moment, the ballroom was frozen. Silence hung in the air. No one had expected this. Then, slowly, people began to move. One by one, guests approached. Kate with offers of new donations. A well-known businessman pledged a large sum. The mayor stood up and declared that the city would match all new funds raised tonight. The atmosphere changed. What had started as a formal charity event had become something much deeper. People were no longer just guests. They were part of a cause. And at the heart of it all stood Kate. Tears on her face, her voice strong, her heart open for the world to see. What happened next would leave everyone in the room changed forever. The ballroom was no longer a normal gala. The elegant air of the evening had vanished. In its place, a deep silence filled the room. Every guest seemed frozen by Kate's emotional words. She had stood there, tears streaming down her face, telling them all about the attack on the refugee camp and about the children who were now hurt, lost or worse, and then her pledge. She and William would give up their own personal savings, their holiday plans, their comforts gone. They would give everything they could to help. For a moment after Kate finished, no one moved. It was as if the whole room was holding its breath. Then slowly, something began to happen. An older gentleman, Sir Edward Green, one of the country's wealthiest businessmen, walked to the center of the room. His cane tapped softly on the floor as he moved. All eyes followed him. He stood before Kate and bowed his head. His voice, when it came, was quiet but full of feeling. "Your Highness, you have shown us your heart tonight. I cannot let you, your husband, carry this alone. I will match your donation, pound for pound." A ripple of surprise passed through the room. Sir Edward was known to be careful with his money. For him to make such a bold promise meant something big. Before anyone could speak, another voice called out, "I will add £10,000, shouted a young tech entrepreneur near the back. He stepped forward, eyes bright with determination, and then another voice, and another. "I will provide free transport for medical supplies," offered a logistics company owner. "Our hospital will send a full team of doctors and nurses," said the head of a nearby medical center. The room came alive with voices. One by one, people stepped forward with offers of money, aid, supplies, skills. It was no longer about gowns and champagne. It was about saving lives. William stood beside Kate, watching in amazement. He squeezed her hand gently. Bravery. Her choice to speak openly had changed everything. A few minutes later, a woman approached Kate. Her name was Mrs. Henderson. She owned one of the largest construction companies in the country. Her eyes were wet with tears. "When I was a little girl," she told Kate softly, "I lost my parents in a war. I know that pain. I want to help. My company will rebuild the shelters. We will do it for free." Kate was moved beyond words. Hugged the woman tightly. The room watched this simple human moment. It was raw and real. Soon, a group of doctors came forward. "We can arrange emergency care," one said. "We will fly there tomorrow if needed." News spread fast. Even outside the ballroom, messages were being sent. Social media lit up with posts about what was happening at Kensington Palace. People across the country were learning about the children in danger and about Kate's brave speech. More and more offers poured in. Food, clothes, medicine, everything was being promised. Then something happened that made the entire room stop. Once again, a young girl, no more than 12, walked shyly toward Kate. In her hands was a small pink piggy bank. "My name is Sarah," she said in a quiet voice. "I've been saving for a bicycle. But I want the children to have this instead." The room fell silent. Many guests wiped away tears as they watched Kate knelt to meet Sarah's eyes. "Are you sure?" she asked gently. Sarah nodded. "I need it more." Kate hugged her tightly. "Thank you, sweetheart. You're very brave." The moment touched every heart in the room. Even the most powerful people there felt something stir inside. William and Kate exchanged glances. They could see it. The room had transformed. It's no longer a royal event. It had become something greater, a mission, Promise. People began forming small groups, discussing how they could work together. The palace staff brought out notebooks to record every offer and pledge. What had started as one woman's emotional speech had turned into a movement. And yet, William could feel it. This was only the beginning. A reporter who had been covering the gala approached quietly. "Your Highness," she asked Kate, "may I write about tonight? The world should know what is happening here." Kate hesitated. Only a moment, then she nodded. "Yes, tell the truth. The children need help." The reporter hurried off. William knew that by morning the story would be everywhere. And that was good. The more people who knew, the more who could help. But as he stood there, watching the growing energy in the room, a single question formed in his mind. Would it be enough? Could they really save them in time? No one knew. But one thing was certain. They would try. Together, the night was far from over. Out. And what came next? No one would ever forget. The clock struck midnight. The grand chandeliers still shone, but the music had long stopped. The polished floor of the ballroom was now scattered with notebooks, pens, empty glasses, and plates left untouched. Kensington Palace had never seen an evening like this. What had begun as a royal charity gala had now become a full crisis mission. Kate, though still tired, felt more alive than ever. William stood close beside her. Around them, small groups of guests were still working, making phone calls, forming teams, writing lists. The mood in the room was serious but hopeful. Yet one heavy thought hung in the air. Could they get help to the children in time? Kate's mind kept returning to the phone call, the aid worker's desperate voice, the sound of chaos in the background. The children were in danger now. They could not wait for a slow response. Across the room, Dr. Jennifer Walsh, an expert in child trauma, approached Kate. "Your Highness," she said gently, "we need to act quickly. These children won't just need food and shelter. They'll need emotional support. They are already deeply hurt." Kate nodded. "What can we do?" Dr. Walsh didn't hesitate. "I will contact my network of child psychologists tonight. Start training local counselors to help them as soon as possible." William stepped in. "Do it. Tell us what you need." Another guest, the editor of the local newspaper, had been quietly observing. Now he came forward. "Princess Kate," he said, "I want to help spread this story. People need to know. If you give me permission, I'll publish it on the front page tomorrow and send it to national and international media. It could bring more aid faster." Kate met his eyes. "Yes, please do it." The man nodded and hurried away. Already typing on his phone, it seemed that the energy in the room was growing stronger with each passing minute. What had begun as shock and sadness was now turning into action. But deep inside, Kate still wondered, would it be enough? Just then, a palisade rushed in with new information. "Your Highness," he said, "the story is spreading fast on social media. We are getting messages from people across the country. Many are asking how they can help." William glanced at Kate. This could change everything. He turned to one of his senior staff. "Set up a donation site. Get it running tonight." The staff member nodded and ran off to begin. Kate's heart lifted a little. The world was waking up to this crisis. The help was growing, but then another thought struck hurt time. Time was the enemy. The longer they waited, the worse the situation might become. "How soon can we get supplies and people there?" she asked aloud. The room quieted for a moment. "Will. Need transport?" one guest replied. "Planes? Helicopters?" "The region is dangerous." A young military officer who had been watching from the side stepped forward. "Your Highness, I can speak to my commanders. Perhaps the Royal Air Force could assist." William looked at him. "Please. Any help will matter." The officer nodded sharply and pulled out his phone. It was as if an invisible clock was ticking in everyone's minds. The children needed them, and soon. Then another surprising offer came. A woman who ran several clothing stores stepped up. "I can organize a drive for warm clothes," she said. "I'll start tomorrow. My staff will help." And then another. "My restaurants will prepare meals to send." And another. "We can provide tents and blankets." Everywhere Kate looked, People were stepping forward with ideas, with action. The ballroom was now more like a war room than a party. She and William sat together for a moment, looking at the growing lists of donations and promises. "Look at this," Kate whispered. It's more than we ever expected."
William
nodded. "Your speech started something powerful. You spoke from the heart. People feel it." Kate's eyes shone with tears, not of sadness this time, but of hope. But even with all this good news, a shadow of worry remained. What if they were too late? What if more attacks came? Like suddenly a palisade came running, face bright. "News. Just came in, a major international aid group has heard about tonight. They want to coordinate with us. They can send people and supplies right away." A murmur of relief passed through the room. This was the help they needed. Kate stood, her voice clear now. "We must keep going. Every minute counts." And so, long into the night, the work continued. New names were added to the lists. New plans were made. And deep inside, both William and Kate knew this was not just a one-night effort. This was the beginning of something far bigger than they had ever dreamed. A movement of compassion, the action of hope. But the hardest part was still to come. Would their help reach the children in time? Would they survive the next days? No one knew. But no one would stop trying. Not now. It was nearly dawn when the ballroom finally began to empty. The chandeliers still glowed, but the night's energy had shifted into something calm and hopeful. William and Kate sat together on a small couch in the corner of the room. Around them were piles of notebooks filled with names, phone numbers, offers of help. The once elegant gala had become a true mission. Neither of them felt tired. They knew the real work was only beginning. Kate's phone buzzed again. At another message, this time from the International Aid Group. "Good news," the message read. "Planes loaded with supplies will depart within hours. Medical teams will arrive at the camp by afternoon." Kate showed it to William. A small smile touched his lips. "It's working," he said softly. "But there's still so much more to do." He was right. The children were still in danger. The road ahead would be hard. But now there was hope. Just then, a palace staff member hurried over. "Your Highnesses, the story is on the morning news already. The newspapers are running it on their front pages. It's trending worldwide on social media." Kate looked surprised. "Already?" "Yes, ma'am, and many people are sending messages. Donations are pouring in from across the country, even from other parts of the world." William stood and stretched. "We need a full team to manage this. We can't do it alone." Kate agreed. "Call in the best. We'll need help from everyone." More staff and volunteers arrived. At the palace, the old ballroom was turned into a command center. Computers were set up, phones rang constantly, whiteboards covered the walls, showing lists of needs, offers, and contacts. It was no longer just about that single night. It had become a global effort. But through it all, Kate's heart stayed focused on the children. She had seen their faces, heard their laughter during earlier visits. Now she worried about each one. Were they safe? Were they hurt? Were they afraid? Late that afternoon, another message arrived. This one made her heart pound. It was a live update from the camp. "Medical teams have reached the site, while most of the missing children have been found. Many are injured, but alive. Aid supplies are being distributed now. More help is still needed." "But the situation is improving," Kate gasped. Tears filled her eyes. "William, they're alive." William hugged her tightly. "You did this," he whispered. "You started this." But Kate shook her head. "We all did. Everyone who stood up last night. Everyone who's helping now." The news spread quickly through the palace. Staff cheered. Volunteers smiled. The long hours of work were starting to show real results. But there was more. That evening, another surprise message came in. A major international charity had decided to partner with their effort. More supplies, more doctors, more counselors would be sent in the coming days. And then another message. The United Nations had heard about the situation. They offered official support, and promised to send their own teams to help. Kate sat back, overwhelmed. The small act of speaking out that night, opening her heart to the room, it started a chain of events that now reached across the world. William smiled at her. See what honesty and courage can do. Kate looked at him, her voice quiet. I only hope it's enough. But already the answers were coming. Photos began arriving from the camp, pictures of children receiving food, getting medical care, being wrapped in warm blankets. Some were smiling again, even after everything they'd been through. Kate stared at the photos, her heart full. They're safe, she whispered. They're going to be okay. That night, for the first time in 2 days, William and Kate left the palace for home. The ballroom was still full of life, staff, and volunteers working around the clock. The mission would continue bigger than ever. On the way home, Kate held William's hand. She looked out the car window at the dark London streets. I never expected this, she said softly. One speech, one moment. And now look what's happened. William squeezed her hand. Sometimes all it takes is one brave voice. The next morning, headlines around the world told the story. Royal couple's courage sparks global effort to save refugee children. Donations kept coming. More volunteers arrived. The effort grew beyond anyone's dreams. But more than that, something deeper had happened. People around the world were inspired. Other groups started their own efforts. A wave of compassion had been set in motion. And at the heart of it all was that single moment when Kate had stood in a grand ballroom, with tears on her face and courage in her voice, and told the truth. It was a night no one would ever forget. And, for the children whose lives were saved, was the night hope returned.